We are talking about Robert Picardo, aka the Emergency Medical Hologram, or EMH, our favorite doctor from Voyager. And, the actor's back in the spotlight a little bit recently because he has a few thoughts on a live action return.
Yes. Well, it's because of Picard season 3 that he's having these thoughts. Because we're seeing an aged android soon android. That's all we're going to say. We can't say specifically.
I like how you caught yourself there.
I'm like, oh, I almost said something, but no. So because of that reason, like, why can't we have an aged EMH?
Yeah, you get a series, right? And you get a series, and you get a series.
What's holding it back now? So here's what he had to say in an interview with the companions to Boldly Ask. Robert Picardo said, "I'm really happy that Kate Mulgrew, who plays Captain Janeway, is now talking openly about it now, because of course Kate's been talking about getting her own show after the stuff she's doing in Prodigy. That they've established the precedent with Star Trek Picard. There's a passion in the audience out there to see the legacy actors again in new stories mixed with wonderful, younger, new actors. So it's certainly something I'm open to, and the character lives on inside me."
Okay.
So
can I comment on that real quick?
Sure.
There was never a lack of passion for Trekkies to see their favorite Trek actors in Star Trek stories.
100% true. Never. Yes. Thank you for saying that. It's not like it went away when Discovery came out. No, we were shut up is what it was.
We were shut up. Yeah.
You didn't hear us because people wouldn't let us be heard.
Right.
So, so I would say open up and this is to all people on social media, open your circle a little bit to hear other voices so you can recognize that we're actually out here.
Yeah. Stop only clicking on the verified tab in Twitter. Okay.
Right.
That's crazy to me. Since the end of Voyager, I remember thinking like, all right, what's next? I remember being like 17 years old and thinking, okay, what's next?
Yeah, we were ready for the next thing. Absolutely.
It's been 30 years. Like, all right, what's next? Like 20 years. What's next? I don't know.
Even when Enterprise was over, I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
I was never tired of Star Trek. People were tired of making Star Trek. I was never tired of watching it.
Right. And we talk about that. Remember, in our Enterprise doc, in the Definitive History of Enterprise, we talk about how Berman and Braga were definitely sort of over making Star Trek.
Right.
And the studio at the time, the studio at the time, not the current studio, were like, okay, you finished at Voyager, now make new Star Trek. Make a new one. And so they tried to like switch it up with Enterprise to try to give themselves like a mental break on Star Trek after doing it for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really why it was so much different. It was so... there was a lot of differences because of that. They were trying to like...
the studio pushed back too.
Right, and the studio pushed back too.
Like they wanted to do something not in space for season 1 before the Enterprise actually launched. It would have been different. It would have been different.
Yeah, they wanted to do Star Trek. Oh, they didn't even want to call it. So first off, they didn't want to call it Star Trek Enterprise. They wanted to call it just Enterprise, and they wanted the entire first season to be about the build up to making the first Enterprise ship on Earth.
Right.
And the studio was like, yeah, it's called Star Trek, bud. You can't be on Earth all the time. Someone clearly forgot those notes in Picard season 2.
Well, it's yeah, no, you're right. It's funny because what the executives told them was, listen, do whatever you want, but at the end of the first episode, make sure they're in space.
Yeah, yeah, they're in space, bud. Yeah, you're right. There's a comment over here. Don't conventions prove that? And on that note, going back to Galaxy Quest, there are Galaxy Quest conventions. From a little movie, there's entire conventions. Supernatural, Stargate, Firefly, Star Trek is the granddaddy of them all when it comes to conventions. There are still entire conventions around these properties and these IPs and these franchises that have been gone for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
There's clearly a demand for them.
Well, and when Picard season 3 is over, and it's finished, we're going to be like, ooh, do Enterprise next. Do Enterprise next.
Right.
Because, like, really, finishing it off and giving it the final send-off, I mean, Enterprise deserves the same thing. And Terry Matalas could be a great... I don't know if he wants to do it, but I can tell you that it would be cool to get a proper send-off for the Enterprise crew.
Yeah, let's pretend that the last episode of Enterprise was actually like a lost TNG episode.
Yeah.
And then just like pick it up from like 20 years later and start telling the story and like have those like flashbacks to that time to sort of like give them a proper... Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah, Tucker never dies.
Tucker never dies. No, he joins Section 31 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. We'll take it. But Robert Picardo being back, he said, here that he could easily play Dr. Zimmerman again, because Zimmerman is the same timeline as some of those Star Trek series, and I guess the aging thing would make more sense to play that character. Said to me, it's a funny idea. What he finds very funny is to have the Doctor and Zimmerman working together. So let's say you're a 40-year-old person. Imagine your 18-year-old self working side by side with you in the same critical, important mission. I don't think they can pull that off here. The de-aging process in these TV shows are not great.
Yeah, there's no way they get the current version of Robert Picardo to look like the original, like the Voyager version of Robert Picardo. I'm sorry,
just
guys.
Update the EMH guys. Give them an age cycle.
Do what they did with Q. Okay, so you open up. Let's say it actually happens. They open up. This is your emergency medical. What's your medical emergency? And then he's like, age. He looks at the older Dr. Zimmerman. And Dr. Zimmerman goes, that's not going to do. And he like flicks a button and he flips over back to the original, the version he is now.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Like
that actually be
that 1 second of him looking like ridiculous in Star Trek Picard 2, it was okay because it made sense when he's like, oh, well, let me get on the same page. And he snaps his fingers. Like, okay, cool. We can do that with here too. It's okay.
I think so.
Let's not have both. Like this costs so
and let me tell you, the EMH was one of my favorite things about Voyager. I love the EMH. The show Voyager, I have no bones about it. Voyager is probably it's really hard to say I love Star Trek so much that it's just, I mean, TOS every show has my heart in a different way, but Voyager, I have a deep love for that show and a lot of its characters. And the EMH just came along, man. I mean, it started out as nothing and became something incredible when 7 of 9 joined. The show kept reinventing itself, and these characters will live a long time in my heart. So I would not mind to see all of the Voyager crew back in some way, shape, or form in future shows.
Yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room here, though. We need Garrett back.
Oh, Garrett Wang?
And will he still be an ensign?
It'd be like gray-haired Garrett Wang as an ensign. No, of course not.
Yeah. Like, are we gonna like? I go. Oh, I wonder if we're gonna see him in Picard season 3, and will he still be an ensign? What if he's like acting captain, but he still has the ensign pips?
That would be ironically funny.
Yeah, that's interesting. That there are characters that we haven't seen. We've seen them cameo in other movies and stuff, but we haven't seen like these younger characters that are still in their prime. It doesn't have to be Janeway, 73-year-old Janeway. It can be Tom Paris and Garrett Wang and.
Although those people are old now.
I mean, they're older, but they're like in their 50s, right?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, Tom and B'Elanna are both directing now, so those characters are directing. And they're probably the younger, and Garrett Wang is younger, but everybody's old, man. They really are.
Last time I checked, old no matter what. Last time I checked, Garrett Wang was definitely still young enough to be.
It's one person though. Like, I get it. I mean, they're all not super old, but let's not pretend. I mean, well, wouldn't it be great if 55 was young? But it's just, you're going to have some younger stuff involved.
You're right. Okay.
It can't be just, let's get the Voyager crew back. It's just.
That's true.
They did make it home. So that storyline's done.
I mean, yeah. It does not like we have to finish their story. Like their story was definitely finished.
No,
So.
I want to see them somehow injected into other Star Trek stories.
Yes, yeah, like
That's what I want
let's
to
say
see.
after season 3 of Picard, there's another a fresh Star Trek show. Let's say that's the case, and that show can have regulars from these other casts with it. It can have 7 and 9 who's already working in that system. You can have the EMH. He can just upgrade his visual, whatever once he sees 7 again. You can definitely have these characters. And how great would it be? Like, you can go back through history and just sort of pick your favorite characters and have them injected into certain story points in this new show to sort of pass the baton off to a new crew that we can also fall in love with. I mean,
well, right. You get a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. And I think as long as it's handled right and the writing's done well and it's done by Terry Matalas, then it'll be fine. So hashtag Terry Trek. Did I say that? Did I say hashtag Terry Trek this segment?
No, you didn't. But you're saying now. Hashtag Terry Trek. Hashtag Terry Trek.
And you guys will know what we mean after Picard season 3 comes out. You'll be
Adam says, "Where's the DS9 love? Give me Colonel Kira." Listen, I would love to see Cisco again, but I don't think the actor's ever coming back to the franchise. And I actually did not like Kira very much. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I did like O'Brien. I wouldn't mind seeing O'Brien again, but I was never a fan of Kira.
He'd be great. Cole Meany was wonderful. I mean, there were some good characters on there, but there's a lot of forgettable people on DS9 as well. Like, I would really like to see Odo again.
Oh yeah,
and Quark. There's some of the more side characters.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Ducat. There's all kinds of characters that were fantastic, but I wouldn't say that necessarily the bridge crew, I guess if that's what you want to call it, were necessarily the best characters in DS9.
Right. Okay, with that said, hit that subscribe button away in the comment section. Let us know what you guys think about the Doctor. EMH returning to some live action Star Trek.